Is my job toxic? Sometimes when we've been in a job for a long time and it takes up a lot of our week, it can be really difficult for us to get an overview of this work and the impact it has on us. And if it's healthy for us, because we're so busy doing tasks and doing the day-to-day that we can't really see the wood for the trees. In this video, we're going to look at the 5 key indicators of a toxic work environment so you can assess for yourself. If you feel like the toxic workplace indicators apply to you, stay tuned to the end as I'm going to give you tips to manage. Now, we all know that in the main, work is paid because it's not something anyone would ever want to do for free, is it? So we expect that it's not going to be a walk in the park. Work is usually about solving problems, so we expect it to not be all sunshine and roses. We're realistic. But then there are things that can happen in our work environment that make the work much more difficult than it would need to be. So the first indicator of a toxic work environment is actually in you. It's about how you feel. How you feel when you wake up and you know you have to go to work is actually a key indicator of whether or not you're happy at work. So if you wake up and you just want to jump out of bed, you're feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed before going to work, it's highly likely that you're probably in quite a healthy work environment. But if you wake up feeling like doom, very, very often, it's highly likely that you're not thriving in your job. And the key way to look at this is actually really trust your body and mind and what they are telling you, because your body and mind is always looking out for you and looking to protect you. Many of us, and this is myself included, I did this, we brush this aside and think, oh, it's just my problem. I'm just going to push those thoughts and feelings away. Oh, I need to sort it out. Now, from someone who continually ignored what my body and mind was telling me, to the point I ended up in burnout that affected me for years, I'm telling you, do not ignore what your body and mind tells you. Trust how you feel. Trust your judgment. Don't feel like you are the problem. You need to assess the wider picture of the environment you're working in now to get a better gauge. So that brings us to point 2 of a toxic work environment, which is high turnover. So do people leave faster than you can even learn their name? High turnover is really a telltale sign of poor leadership and a toxic workplace. High turnover can really affect the stability in the workplace because there's no real way to build any positive culture with a continual flow of people in and out. It also makes it difficult for you to build positive working relationships if everyone's just leaving. In the main, when we leave and we start new jobs quickly, it's really stressful and disruptive, isn't it? So we only really do it if we feel we have no choice. Rarely someone might leave a job because they've got a crazy opportunity, because in the main, really, people leaving a job very soon after starting one, they're doing it because there's something wrong. So the next indicator of a toxic working environment is lack of clear communication. Communication is often really vague, or it can be contradictory. You're expected to read between the lines or magically know what's expected of you. If you find that the goalposts keep changing, where you did something and once it was okay and then you did the same thing again and it wasn't, this suggests that your workplace is not clear and your management changes their mind like the wind. This can leave you feeling really discombobulated, I love that word, and really unsure. When you feel unsure, you lose confidence in what you're doing and you lose the confidence in your skills. So when we lose confidence and we feel de-skilled, are we happy? No, we really are not. So that brings us on to indicator number 4 of a toxic work environment, which is not being allowed to express your ideas or be involved. Have you ever worked somewhere where every idea you have just remains mute? Let's talk about the workplace that doesn't allow ideas and how it affects everyone involved. As humans, we just thrive on growth. If you're in an environment where ideas and growth are not permitted, people are not happy and it affects the culture because, well, it's not exactly a progressive environment, is it? When we're spending a lot of time at work, we need to feel part of it or have some semblance of control of what we're doing, and sharing ideas is what makes us feel part of our work and part of a team and that we're going together. If our voices and views are silenced, it does two things. Firstly, we don't feel like we're part of the workplace. And secondly, we don't feel our bosses or managers care about us or value us. When we're boots on the ground and it's us as the workers who have the most insights into issues and how they could be resolved, if your experience is ignored, this is hugely frustrating because any issues you identify are not being resolved, let alone being heard in the first place. And this can compound your negative feelings about your workplace and make you feel out of control. Overall, not being heard and having no say in the workplace we are part of can make us just feel really disenfranchised and just disconnected. We just want to disconnect, don't we? So indicator number 5 is micromanagement, or lack of support. Toxic jobs often feature managers who micromanage or, on the flip side, offer zip in support. Either way, you're left feeling undervalued and unable to thrive. Being micromanaged can make you feel de-skilled, and having no autonomy doesn't allow you to make decisions. This leads us to feel we are not trusted by our bosses or not seen as capable. And this creates difficulties and a lack of trust in the relationship. Likewise, like a lack of any support and being left to it can be problematic as well, because if that lack of support holds up your progress in getting tasks done, that's just really frustrating then, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to give you one more bonus indicator of a toxic work environment, because this one will definitely resonate with many people. So the bonus indicator is being overworked, having too much work to do. So if you've got too much work to do and not enough time, several things are going to happen that you might be experiencing. You may feel you have to work more hours just to stop getting snowed under. You might be working over the allocated hours you're paid for, and that can make you feel exploited because it wasn't what you actually signed up for, was it, to work all those extra hours? If you've got too much work coming in, you might feel you're not able to complete anything well or to the best of your ability because you're having to rush. This can lead you to losing confidence because there may be gaps in your work and you might get pulled up for them, mightn't you? And you won't be able to complete work to the best of your ability. And that means you're not going to feel job satisfaction in what you're doing. When you're overworked over an extended period of time with no end in sight, it could just lead to a feeling of hopelessness and can lead to stress and just feeling overwhelmed. People can end up adopting unhealthy coping strategies to offset the stress when they're outside work. To the extreme, this could be addictions, for example. It's understandable. So there are many more indicators, but today we looked at these 6 examples. Okay, so it's all well and good identifying toxicity in the workplace, but what can we do about it? The first step is to identify it. Knowledge is always power. So when it comes to how you feel, keeping a journal will help you to document what's happening. It's also a good idea to just get it out, so it's not stuck in your mind. With the journal, you can also start to see patterns and take ownership that you're addressing how you feel with a view to making changes. So with the indicator of high turnover, do you know what? It might be an idea not to invest so heavily in developing relationships in the workplace, because when people leave, you would actually then experience it more acutely. Do you know, this obviously is not ideal, but it's a short-term coping strategy nonetheless, and it does conserve your much-needed energy. In terms of lack of clear communication, to manage this, documenting and having evidence is really key. If you've got a manager who's thrown you under the bus previously by telling you to do something verbally and then saying they didn't say that later on after you've done it, the way to deal with management like this is to have a written record to support you. So you can write up what you've been told and pop it in an email to the manager. So you've got timestamp and evidence of what they have asked you to do. When I used to do this, I'd pop an email to say, this is my understanding from our meeting, blah, 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 and put all the details. Let me know if there are any changes needed. So then you're putting it in writing, but you're not saying, I don't trust you, I need evidence. You're actually doing it in a way that's constructive and you're working in partnership. But crucially, you're getting your written evidence to protect you. by getting management to confirm in writing, yes, that's exactly what I asked you to do. Likewise, if there's any processes or anything that are unclear, you can ask to clarify in the exact same way. And if you get no response and you're pulled up later for doing something incorrectly, well, there you go. You've got the evidence. You've actually asked for the information, never got a reply. So the manager wasn't doing their job. It's not ideal, but these are coping strategies in the short term. So in terms of micromanagement and lack of support, you want to start by considering why your manager micromanages. It could stem from a lack of trust, their own insecurity, or pressure from higher ups. And don't forget that they're stuck in this toxic environment too. Understanding their mindset can help you approach the situation with a bit of empathy. Micromanagers often feel the need to control, so you can be more proactive, like providing regular updates, clarify expectations with them, keep them informed. This can help ease their anxiety and reduce their need to check in on you constantly if you're the one that's giving them the information. Honestly, I actually found micromanagers the most difficult management type to work with. What about you? So when it comes to a lack of support, you could ask for a meeting with your manager to go through things. Failing that, there might be someone in the organisation that's been there for a bit longer and might be able to help you. I would say that these coping strategies should only really be a consideration for the short term, because if you're experiencing a toxic work environment, the likelihood of it changing or getting better in the short time frame is pretty unlikely. Look, when many of us spend so much of our life in a work environment, we have to consider that life is really too short to be putting up with environments like this. I experienced many toxic work environments myself, and it really impacted me hugely. I completely switched it up though, and I got out to work in a way that suits me with no stress and more time for my family. Let me tell you something. If you are in your late 40s or 50s or heading to retirement and think, oh, I'm past making any changes, I just need to put up with it. No, you do not. You owe it to yourself to live your best life, and you can get tons of ideas here every week. If you click on the link in the description and click on send me the info, I can send you a list of all the ways you can earn income without leaving your job and without huge startup fees, which would allow you to transition more smoothly to earning for yourself and taking your control back. Remember, knowledge is power, and when you learn about how you can earn outside of a toxic work environment, your future earning life just becomes so much more exciting and rewarding.